All right, testing. Good early morning. Up a little earlier than normal. Had to change schedule a little bit because I do teach, and then from time to time, I will be asked to drive the bus in the mornings if the normal bus driver, if the person isn't able to do it, I usually pick up the slack. So, like always, I make my sacrifices and I decide, hey, if that's going to go down, then I have an obligation because I have committed. That word commitment is huge around here. I committed to saying, hey, look, if that's going to be the case, make sure you wake your ass up. All right, Facebook, what's up? Facebook, what's up? Testing. Hold up, let me make sure Facebook is good. An obligation because I have committed thing. Facebook, checking, test. Facebook, we here. All right, let me make sure LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. Yes, it is. We here. We no longer coming no more. We here now. We here. Oh man, you could tell I love missing some college football these days. All right, that's one. Let me check YouTube. So I go live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So let me just check YouTube really quick, and then we'll get this thing started. Happy Win-Trapreneur Wednesday. If you don't know what that means, we'll get to that in a second. My regular listeners, you know what we do over here today, every Wednesday. Win-Trapreneur. We learn how to become Win-Trapreneurs. So every Wednesday. All right, cool. We good. We're good to go. Welcome. Let me just simply, before we get started, let me just introduce myself to anybody that may be new to my world. My name, Aswan Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time published author and educator. And what I created, what you see with these, with these 3 pencils is called the Move Swiftly. It's called Move Swiftly. And all it is basically is taking the lessons, the innovative teamwork lessons that are learned, that are taught and learned on the football field, and aligning them with businesses and business owners, so businesses now have a team that moves as efficiently, as productively, as eagerly, as hungry, and as just incredibly powerfully as a championship youth and high school football team. There's a reason I'm specifically targeting, though. I want you guys targeting those specific levels of football team because of the purity in the game when it comes to the youth level, the purity of the game when it comes to the high school level. Most of the guys playing at that level are not going to be playing beyond that level. If after high school and after the youth, that's it. They're finished with most of them. They're finished with most of the players are finished playing at that point. So you want your business running with that kind of eagerness and that hunger that you would have. See, a lot of the things when it comes to the pros and the college game is a lot of these guys are now thinking about, what's going to happen to their careers and how the game, they're doing it as their business and their career. So all that being said, let's get right into it today because, again, today's kind of a special day. I do teach at a school, and from time to time, I'm one of the 2 people in this entire building that's actually qualified to drive the bus. And whenever the bus driver can't do it, that means I got to show up earlier than I normally do. So because that happened, I decided, okay, hey, look, let me just do what I got. Let me practice what I preach. All right. And it's funny, too, that we're talking about being a Win-Trapreneur, because as I define what a Win-Trapreneur is, it's me doing the thing, me doing the job, me practicing what I preach. Whenever things come, but basically a Win-Trapreneur is another way of saying entrepreneur, right? Meaning you have a business, you have a goal, you have something you want to be doing in your life, and you've been blessed enough, you've been fortunate enough to find a job that's somewhat in alignment with that business, and you take advantage of that situation. That's exactly what I'm doing, right? If I'm one of those people that technically I teach, but I never wanted to get a certification, still don't want to get a certification. I needed to be in an institution where I'm able to I'm able to sort of work with the kids in an indirect way, but also be able to still be the entrepreneur that I naturally am. And the Center for Creative, this is where I teach the Center for Creative Education. They need people that are creative beings, creative humans, just people that are creative in general. So before I get too deep into this, there's a couple things I want to do. First of all, I'm going to get through some announcements, and then I'm going to react to some current events. All right. I did a take this morning about the major news this week. The major news this week was the Anthony Davis and the Luka Doncic trade, and I gave a take this morning that I'm going to play for you guys because it's a great representation. It's a great example as to what you should be doing and what you should be considering when you're building your business, when you're building a staff, when you're thinking about who's going to be great for your team and who's going to be great within the organization, how you could find that mix of big popularity person versus the person that actually is good enough to execute on the game plan. And I'm going to break all that down in a second. All right. So, and then we'll get into today's Win-Trapreneur tip and how we can address all that. First things first, and I'll dive a whole lot deeper into this in a second. So let me just breeze through this announcement real quick. If you're on the West Palm Beach area, if you're in the West Palm Beach area, I do offer free boxing classes. We do those every 2 weeks. Again, hit the QR code right there if you're interested, and I will dive deeper into that in a second. That's actually going to be a theme throughout today's show. Next thing, though, business owners, free guide.makeitmove.com. I took the liberty, I took the initiative and the liberty of creating a 10-step process of one of the things that you can be doing to make it so your business is moving in a more efficient manner. Let's go to freeguide.makeitmove.com for all the information. And then finally, tap into the Patreon link, patreon.com/as144. We are in February. We're not even a weekend. And I'm telling you now, as we continue throughout 2025, this is the direction that I'm going to be taking most of my content, most of the things I do, and most of the things I do on a day in and day out basis. The people I look to serve, going to be looking to work with folks that are in this community. All right. So all that being said, let me pull up the take I just did. I did it this morning. Let's see here. Yes. Yeah, the take I did this morning regarding the Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis trade. So let me let that play, and then I'll jump into it. Let's get it. That's one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork you will not get anywhere else. Let me get my thoughts, man. Let me get into this. Major news, recording this February, I believe, 5th? Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. The major breaking news is obviously in the sports world, at least the world that I heavily associate myself with. Not the only world. I do speak on other things from time to time, but sports is usually where I get my leverage to teach my clients how to be better bosses, how to be better owners, how to use innovative teamwork to achieve the result that you should be wanting to achieve. Again, I say should be wanting to achieve because a lot of you guys may be thinking that the result is something, or a result is something that it actually isn't. So we'll discuss that. If you're interested in more of that, yeah, just tap in with me. Make sure you hit the Patreon link. Hit the Patreon link and hit makeitmove.com. Right? Well, more on that later. Let me get into the news. I got into my delivery there because it has developed in so many ways, man. If you go back to my beginning videos to listen to my delivery now and how it comes out in less than a minute, it's absolutely wonderful. And what actual paying for coaching can do. Anyway, the major news this week is Luka Doncic being traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis. And my initial thoughts on this, seeing that, this time of year when it comes to the NBA basketball, it's nothing but a bunch of drama, the actual playing on the court. So much of it, the reason, in my opinion, so much of the ratings and so much of the fanfare, the game in general, the league in general is just going down the tube in terms of viewership, in terms of just actual loyalty from a fan base is a lot like what we're talking about now, because we're not talking about anything that's actually happening on the court, and we're not talking about actual how playing a certain position, what a team is playing like, what they're looking like. Everything is a bunch of damn
soap opera nonsense that has really, again, it really just creates drama around the game. And that's what's selling the viewership now. That's what's selling the game. That's what's putting the game in front of new viewers, which is, again, why at this time of year I really don't watch much of it. I more so look forward to March Madness and the college game. And even that is getting a little, it's not getting a little, but it's becoming pro sports as it is. But as far as the trade is concerned, I do believe that they both got what it is they needed. All right, I'll say it just like that. They both got what it is they needed. If you think back to a couple years ago, understand Anthony Davis was a great pick, but they gave up a whole lot. They gave up a whole lot to get Anthony Davis when Magic Johnson had sold his stake and then didn't want to be a part of the ownership group anymore. And they had moved on from, I believe, Luke Walton, and then they brought in the other coach that they brought in. His name is escaping me right now, but he won a championship with Anthony Davis. That was the year of the bubble, and they gave up a whole lot. They gave up a ton. They gave up a ton to get him, and then you consider, look, that Frank Vogel, that was his name. Yeah, Frank Vogel. Frank Vogel got fired after winning a championship, and then you bring in Darvin Ham, and then Darvin Ham gets fired. So he gets replaced, and at some point you gotta stop blaming the coaches and start looking at it and say, look, this roster and what we gave up to get this guy Anthony Davis, it's just not working out in our favor. So I think the Lakers let
me pause myself real quick right there. I gotta pause myself real quick. I don't normally like to pause myself when I'm listening to it, because this is actually the first time I'm listening to it fully full out, and I started doing that recently on these live streams, but. As an owner now, as a business owner, okay, I'm going to double down in this in a second, but I want to make sure I make the point, because I may lose track of the point as we get into what we're going to talk about today. At some point as an owner, whether it's the manager, like whether it's the manager or the teacher, at some point you have to say to yourself, is it the actual player on the court? All right. Is it the actual player? There's only so much a Darvin Ham and Frank Vogel is going to be able to do. There's only so much a coach can do. At some point, got to ask yourself, is this the guy? And we're not taking anything away from Anthony Davis at all. I think he's an incredible talent, and you're going to hear me talk about it in a second. But it's at some point you have to start asking yourself this question. Too often what I see in the business world and the ownership, the folks who are bringing in employees and stuff like that, is you are not holding the folks accountable to do a certain job. You're not even setting expectations on people. You're just filling positions so you can check a box, and that's gonna be a huge problem. It's gonna turn into a huge problem for you going down the line. But let me keep going.
Got what they needed. Now, if you're a Laker fan, I would not expect at all a championship. They're not expect a championship, which is the standard, the Lakers standard, right? They're not expect a championship at all within the next 3 or 4 years, because guards come a dime a dozen. The guy that they got is a guard, and you got to build around this guard. You got to build the inside. And as LeBron is kind of on his way out of the league, you're going to have to build around Luka, and that's going to be the challenge, because nowadays basketball is positionless. As you see, Anthony Davis is a true 4, but they have to put him at the 5, and he could also be that guy that steps back, hit the 17-footer. He could also be that guy too that can hit the 3 ball if he needs. So I remember actually in that year they won the championship in the bubble. Remember, Anthony Davis hit the 3. He hit a 3 to win one of those games, one of those huge games. I actually think, if I'm not mistaken, the game was against Dallas, where AD, again, a true power forward that's playing center, he steps back, hits a 3 to win the actual game, right? So again, he's one of those big men that's positionless and can hit that outside shot, can also threaten you underneath. So Dallas actually got what they needed right now, all right? And this notion that, them giving up Luka was a big deal, I strongly disagree with that, because Kyrie Irving showed he can be that guard. Kyrie Irving showed he can be that guy in the front court that's dishing and making sure certain guys and facilitate, making sure the ball's getting inside. And with AD now, you're able to spread the floor and do a whole lot more things on the defensive end as well. All right, so understand that, and in my opinion, and just to give my thoughts to close row, my thoughts is, when it comes to teamwork and how you kind of take this in as a business owner, you can't get caught up in the flashy lights. You can't get caught up in media hype, because that's what, again, the Luka trade, the reason it was such a big deal is because Luka is an international star. Luka is someone that is just a big star, a big attraction to the fans, a big attraction to a large group of audiences. However, when you're talking about the game of basketball, Dallas didn't need another guard, right? Because they have an all-star type guard in Kyrie. What they needed was guys down low, big man guys that can do position, that can play every position and can do a lot of the things that AD's doing. So that's just pretty much what it is. And in business, these are the things that you have to think about when you're putting your staff together, when you're putting your team together, when you're putting your employees together, when you're putting all these things together. You have to think about what's the need going to be and not necessarily what's going to be an attraction to the outside world per se, all right? Or you have to make sure that it's a solid balance between the two, which is what this trade actually displayed. It displayed a solid balance between, what's going to be an attraction versus what's going to be needed on the court, all right? So those are my thoughts on that. All that being said, like I mentioned before, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work.
Let me couple things here. Let me make sure. It was actually, so just to prove my point here. Yeah, this was 4 years ago. 4 years ago. We had AD. Here it is. Look at it. AD. This is in the bubble. AD. This is a guy playing center, and he hits a 3 to win the game. You guys see that? Let me make sure, because I have to, all right. Boom. He's there. And he hits a 3 to win the game. That is a center type guy hitting a 3, and it wasn't against Dallas. It was actually against Denver, a team that went on, obviously is dominant now and has been in the finals. They won the championship before Boston, and they beat LA going to in that Western Conference final. They didn't just beat LA, they straight up swept LA. They straight up swept and tapped all up in that ass. All right. So main takeaway, the main thing, and let me just kind of debrief what I just said so you guys understand how and primarily the folks that come into this world that I look to serve is whenever you see major news in sports, the takeaway and the questions that you should be asking, which is, okay, they're looking to build a solid team. Every single one of these teams are looking to win a championship right now. They have a championship standard. The goal is always to win a championship, right? And what the Lakers franchise has been about throughout there, they have 17 of them. It's been one of the legendary franchises that has built this league. To my knowledge, the Dallas Mavericks have one, and it was against my Miami Heat. Back when Dirk Nowitzki just turned into, he was making shots that wasn't fair. It's back when we were when we had the big three, the big LeBron's first year with Miami and all that, and Nowitzki just was doing stuff that don't make sense. Makes no sense for somebody to be hitting these kind of fadeaways, hand in his face, all that kind of stuff. Hold on, I see the Wi-Fi is playing with me right now. The Wi-Fi is playing with me. Give me a second. All right, we're good. Yeah, so when it comes to this trade, right? When it comes to this trade and the way you should be balancing it, you should be looking at the overall way that your company, your brand, all right, how does it actually, what's the culture like, right? What's the culture like? What's the image? What is it known for? Like the Lakers are known. This is LA. This is the franchise. Like whether what they're being talked about, they're going to be talked about in the media, regardless of how good or bad their record is. They are Showtime, big time, big city. That's a reason, in my opinion, that LeBron left Cleveland to go there. Again, it's the Lakers, and you need that international star. So it fits. Luka's game fits the whole Los Angeles Lakers. Like, this is what we're trying to sell. This is what we want to keep our fans excited. It just simply fits. All right. So even though the move is a move in which you're probably not going to get better on the court as a team, even though it's not a move that's necessarily for the short term, it's a move that's going to be moving in the long term and say, all right, let's bring in Luka now and start building around him, get him with the, get the fans back on board with us. Cause I know for a fact there's been several Lakers fans that have been just over it. They've been done there. I mean, listen, the excitement and the hype that they had when they won the championship in the bubble, all that's done now. All right. Those people are done. They were ready to get another chip, especially especially when you see Boston dominating the league and getting the chip. Now the Lakers got to come in and say, hold up, dog. Now we got to come in and get our chip. That's the way it works. And that's why I love sports so much, because there's this constant, tug of war. There's this constant battle. There's this constant okay, you get yours, it's mine, I'm gonna get mine, all that kind of stuff, right? So Luka fits what the Lakers standard actually is. Now, when we're talking about real basketball and what's going on the actual court, Dallas got exactly what they needed. They got exactly what they needed. If you could recall last year when they were playing against Dallas Dallas was playing against Boston in the finals. When what's his name, Porzingis, that first game, slim. You got to think that first game when Boston had Porzingis and Porzingis was playing. I mean, Porzingis was in that mode. I mean, okay, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday. You had the other White. I think his name is White. You had the Al Golden or something like that. But long story short is they didn't have Kristaps Porzingis in the lineup until game 1 of the NBA Finals. And when he got in the lineup, dog, what? Slim! Come on, dog. Listen, Porzingis was in that thing. He's dishing. He's hitting that 17 foot. And it's scary because you get big men. When you get big men like him, AD, Wembanyama, even if you want to talk about Joel Embiid, when you get big man that's able to step back and hit that, boom, that's a problem, B. That's a problem. That's a huge problem, because now it's like, what you going to do? You got that post game, but also you could jump out and do what you got to do on the perimeter, and then that opens up the court. That's, in my opinion, that's where the game is right now. That's why Boston is doing what Boston's doing, is because they've been able. Now they take a lot of risks with the three, and what Steph did and Clay and all that. And that's another thing, actually. Dallas has Klay Thompson too, so now that's a real problem. So I'm telling you, man, look. They both got what they needed. If you're a Mavericks fan, I think you should be excited about what's going on with your team now. I know Luka, the media is going to make Luka the reason that you guys were so good, but you got to think. You got Klay Thompson, Kyrie, and now you got AD. You got enough. You got enough to take it home, man. You got enough. Listen, you have enough. You have like Jennifer Lopez. You have enough. You have enough to take the chip this year. I really do believe that. I think this trade is going to turn out a whole lot better for the Mavs. For both sides, they're gonna like it, but you're gonna see immediate results with the Mavs, and with the Lakers, the results are gonna the results are gonna be sort of sustained, because they need a transition. They need something to transition when LeBron's gone, because LeBron is not playing for another 2 seasons, in my opinion. I think if he does go next year, I think next year is going to be officially his last year. I don't see him doing it anymore. And in my opinion, he is the GOAT, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself when LeBron leaves the league, because I mean, it's my childhood, man. He came on the national scene when I was still in high school. I still had the high school mindset. I was still a freshman in high school when LeBron became LeBron. And to see his 20 years at this point, man, it's amazing to see. We're never going to see another one like it. And that's really where the debate is, not to get too off topic here, but when it comes to this debate that everybody's going to have, and, who's number one, who's number two, wherever you put them, I think the best thing is, everybody has their guy. Everybody has their guy that they saw do some things that is just not human, didn't seem human. And LeBron's our guy, class of 07, high school class of 07. LeBron's our guy. He's our guy. We watched him do some things that you just never have ever seen. So that's my take on it. Now let's get into what we are discussing today. Win-Trapreneur Wednesday. Win-Trapreneur Wednesday. I spoke about this a little earlier. And what I do every single Wednesday, you can check my track record, is every Wednesday. First of all, what I have coined, all right, what a Win-Trapreneur is, like I mentioned earlier, but I'll repeat it just in case you didn't catch it. We know what an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur, business owner, takes risks in their own business, bets on themselves, all that kind of stuff. But there is a term out there that not a lot of people, I think some people may know what it means, but not a ton of people know what it means. It's called an intrapreneur. An intrapreneur is myself, someone that actually has a job that's paying them every 2 weeks. And that job is yes, you need to get paid, pay your bills, do what you got to do to pay your bills and all that kind of stuff. But the job is in alignment with the business that they run. There's aspects of the business that I run with the job that I have that are simply just meeting, like they're really aligned. And the intrapreneur, who is me, it's my job day in and day out to make sure it stays that way, right? It's my job day in and day out to make sure that it's all in alignment. Same thing. So every Wednesday, whether it's myself, I'm the ultimate Win-Trapreneur, but whether it's myself or it's something that has happened in the world, I feature a Win-Trapreneur. I feature some of the things that other Win-Trapreneurs are doing. So last week I talked about Andy Reid. I believe the week before I talked about Coach Mike Vrabel when he got the job with the Patriots, because these were guys that, and this is why I'm so heavily involved in the football world, even to this day, because we see a ton of Win-Trapreneurs in the football world. We see, guys who played football for a specific franchise, and then they go on to the coaching world, and then that team that they played for goes and hires them as a coach. That right there is the perfect example of a Win-Trapreneur. So there's a lot of, whenever I do features on Win-Trapreneuring or what a Win-Trapreneur is all about, I make sure, the football world and the basketball world for that matter actually is something that is very prevalent over here. All right. And that's one thing. But also what needs to be mentioned is the aspect of being an entrepreneur is you're going a lot of mental battles. And that's why one of the goals this year, and actually what I'll will be doing at some point before 2026, I made a promise to myself that I will do this. I will have a book. Book number 6 is going to be about being a Win-Trapreneur. But one of the things that's going to happen as you are becoming a Win-Trapreneur, as it starts happening, as you start realizing, and by the way, this happens naturally, folks. This is not something that you can necessarily plan. It's always going to be a situation in which you have a love and a desire to put a certain thing in the world. You see a job posting, a job opening, and that desire and that posting, that description or whatever it is you have, it just is going to be in alignment. All right. This is not something that you can necessarily plan. But when you're so fully in it, when you're 10 toes deep, like knee deep in it, like I am right now, you will bump heads with a lot of people that have the employee mindset. All right. One of the goals, go back to listen to some of I think it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, where I named my top 5 goals for 2025. Number 1 on that list was fighting and not letting the folks who have an employee mindset, who take an employee approach to their job, to their work every day. I can't let that mindset get to me, because there are more folks like that. And I deal with more folks like that on a day-to-day basis who have this set way of doing things. And this is just how it's going to be done. And you want this one, that. And they're not even considering any variables. They just want that done because they want to keep their job and they want to make sure. I deal with that shit every day, every single day. Right. And the reason I could deal with it is because of everything we're going to be discussing today is right there. You got to stay ready so you don't need to get ready. This is what a Win-Trapreneur has got to do. All right. You have got to stay. You have to stay. You have to stay in ready mode. You have to stay in a mode where you're ready to put the gloves on, ready to set your feet at any point and go to work with whoever it is you need to go to work with, because you're always on. Even though it may not look like you're paying attention, or it may not look like to the employee mindset, it may not look like you're paying attention to what's going on, or you may not be focused, which is what I've been accused of recently. You're paying attention to everything. You're hearing everything. You're interpreting everything. You're making sure you have the mental capacity to pay attention enough to know how to rebuttal certain points, to make sure you know, hey, certain things are not ethical, certain things are not right, certain things in terms of how you do this and how you do that are not right. And you have to have this in you. All right, you have to have this mentality. And I'll give you an example here throughout this weekend. So, like I mentioned, every single, let me put this down for a second. Not every single Saturday, but recently, we'll say every 2 weeks, I offer free boxing lessons at a local park out here in West Palm Beach. Now, I got into doing this years ago, but let me just tell you how it restarted real quick, so you guys really get my point in terms of making sure you're staying ready so you don't have to get ready. All right. So recently, as of this past summer, I was looking for a brand new church home, and I found the church home. And I discussed this in the past. Every Friday I do Faith-Based Friday, which we go over the sermons and all that kind of stuff, right? But found a church home. It was. I remember, I'll never forget it, because it was the week 1 of the NFL football season. It's Life Church, and I go in there. The whole place is decorated with football stuff. They're serving hot dogs. It seemed like, I was like, this is my place. And now we get to, because I've slowly but surely stopped drinking alcohol. Now I get to have a place where you enjoy football and stuff like that, and you're not drinking beer. You're not doing anything that's going to be harmful to your body. You're actually in a place where there's fellowship and things of that nature. And it's not all, judgmental religion and all that kind of stuff. And they were able to merge football with just going to church and just, again, building community. So I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved it from day one. In fact, seeing that this is Super Bowl week, they have a really, really cool thing that they're going to be doing this Sunday with the kids. They have like ice skating, they have food, they're gonna be doing some stuff with the Super Bowl commercial, and I'm excited to just be a part of it because they've been talking about it for the past couple of weeks. So I'm excited to see what it's all about. But anyway, so I've been going there, and as I got to know the staff and got to know the people, I say, hey, I would love to teach boxing lessons. I would love to be a part of a group. I would love to be a leader of a life group. And my skill set, a skill set that I've developed even from these times, right? Something that I'm never going to lose is the ability to just teach people how to develop their own combos, jab, cross, uppercut, hook, cross, duck, slip, jab, cross, jab. I've learned how to do that because I was previously employed. Again, here we go now. Again, this Win-Trapreneur word is going to continue to come up very frequently. I was previously employed at a gym named 9 Round Kickboxing and Fitness. All right. This was back when I was in Plantation. That was the name of the gym, which is in the Fort Lauderdale area. Right now, again, a lot like some of the stuff I'm dealing with here. I had a colleague who I just professionally, because I am able to communicate, I can deal and tolerate certain people professionally, but on the personal side, the guy drove me crazy. Between him and it was really much just 2 people. It was him and then the actual owner of the place. The person couldn't stand the person and his lack of accountability, lack of tardiness, lack of just reliability and dependability and all that. But what made it worse was the fact that the owner never actually enforced any of these rules, never actually came down on him. So obviously as an owner, obviously as the person that sets the standard, when you are able to get away with being late every day, then you're just going to keep being late because got my job. I don't care. That's where I was losing. The stuff would just drive me crazy. Right. But anyway, this person I'm referring to, and if you knew me back then, you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to put his name out there. But this person who I'm referring to was he was an amateur fighter, right? He knew how to teach people the 1s and 2s, to jab, cross, uppercut, hook, jab, cross, jab, cross. Like, I would not have known how to do that had I not developed the mentality. Okay, let me learn from this guy. Let me learn something and add to my skill set. And that's what I did. I got to the point where I don't think I was going to be as good as he is at it, but I'm good enough to serve just a typical person that would want some free boxing lessons or would want to develop some boxing lessons if they had the time to do it, if they're not lazy, if they want a form of cardio. Absolutely would love to do that, right? So you had that going on. And then there was actually at the time too, and this is what every time, because I've spoken about this in the past, but when I really think about how it all developed, it's still baffled. It's still unbelievable. It's a very rewarding life, right? Because as I was developing my reputation at this gym in Naira, actually, I have it right here. I'll show you guys this was the time, man. Yeah, this was me, baby. This was me. So as I was developing my reputation at this gym, I was also going to another church, and that church went out of business. That church was the typical church that I would never, ever, 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 ever recommend being a part of. That type of church I would never, ever pay a cent to. Never, not know nothing. Okay, these people. It was ran by one man, the one person. Again, I'm reluctant to put his name out there, but I have talked about this in the past where I go deeper on this, but I'm trying not to go down that road too much. But the person who ran the church had his family all tied into it. One in particular was a daughter that I personally didn't get along with, and there was that girl boy thing where there was just a lot of things being said about me that were behind my back. But then you go to a church, and look, you shouldn't be judging people based on but anyway, again, long story short, the church is no longer in business. Neither is this gym. All right. So where I learned the boxing lessons isn't in business. And then the place in which I would go for faith and go for worship and go just to, fill my bucket up in terms of the word and just be a part of something that I think I hold very near and dear to my heart. That place is no longer in business. So for a while there, when I got to West Palm Beach, I didn't see being or going to church as something, or going to church was something, yes, I wanted to do, but I had some really, really bad experiences with it. So when I walked into Life Church and I saw the setup and I saw everything they're about, I just simply inquired, right? So start these life group boxing lessons around November. It was around November, and they, again, made it incredibly easy. They made it they made it something that was very doable. They were not folks that were prejudging me. They were not folks that were like, oh, okay, well, since you have a podcast and you may, shout out a swear word here and there, okay, that, you're no longer, no, that was not the mentality. It was, hey, look, you're going to try this and it's not going to work out the way you want it to work out right away. It may take you 2 years to get a regular showing. It may take you 2 months. It may take you this, but you have to be willing to commit. Same way that we ask people to commit to the word or commit to what God has bestowed upon their life. We want, people, we want group leaders committed to the work and committed to serving the community. And I'm like, hey, sign me up. When you put those little emojis up and the hand goes up, like, sign me up, because this, what I'm offering, what I'm telling you I can do, this is me, B. This is me, right? So when COVID happened, 9 round, and I spoke about this in an article that just got posted today. I'll repost it on my feed as soon as I'm done here. But let me make sure I get the title of it, because there's so many that come out. Yes, stay ready. So there's no need to get ready. The Win-Trapreneur Blueprint, right? So what happened with that is COVID happened. COVID happened 5 years ago, right? And like every business, particularly in the fitness industry, it was hard to get things going, get things back after the coronavirus shut everything down. So once the gyms opened back up, it was hard to get people to come back into the gym and, continue with their membership. So losing membership by the boatload. I mean, money's just flying out the place, being flushed down the toilet and all that kind of stuff. And what happened was, again, this is when an owner needs to step up. And say, this is how we're going to work this as a team. Let's go back to grassroots. Let's go back to just straight recruiting people to the gym. Let's go back to setting up tables. Let's do something outside of staying in a gym and just assuming people are going to show up, which again, it doesn't happen like that, right? So I guess apparently they had a Sunday where I didn't usually work on Sundays when I was at 9 Round, but apparently they had a Sunday where very few people showed up, and the owner of the gym decided, all right, look, I'm going, instead of, using that time to maybe do some table setups, to do something, I don't know. He decided to just cut the hours on Sunday, like just not open on Sundays or whatever. So what I decided to do in contrast or as a reaction to that was host free boxing lessons on Sunday. That was it. That's the only place that it actually started, because that was his move. My move was to say, okay, I have the skill to do it on my own. I'm going to go to the park, offer free boxing lessons. And if they want more, then they can meet me at 9 Round. That was the system. And that was actually what was happening until obviously I ran into some resistance with him, and he didn't really, he saw I would post about it all the time. So he knows I was doing it, but he never actually took action. And he never said, okay, I'll come support that, or I'll come, maybe let some of the members know so that way they can let some people know, and then we can get them in. None of these conversations were happening, and it's because that he was just that type of person that didn't want to communicate, or I guess he felt like closing the gym on a Sunday was a good idea, which I don't see how you're going to get people in when you close. Again, I'm getting aggravated. I know every time I talk about this subject, it aggravates me even more, because when you think about it, it just doesn't make any sense. Anyway, when I decided that I was going to be a group leader, I knew I had the skill, because I was already getting that regular showing at the park every single Sunday. So when it came to the times in which I was going to be doing these boxing workouts when I'm here in West Palm Beach, I knew it was like, all right, every 2 weeks, Saturday morning, and we just get after it, we just do our thing. And I was getting, like, I initially put it out there early November, so it's right in the middle of, like, right before a holiday rush, right? They finally get everything straight. It's like, all right, it's posted up there. The link is there. It's a free boxing lessons.makeyourmove.com. You can go sign up there. Everything, all the information's out there. And I was getting a lot of people that are interested in signing up to the group. However, the challenge is, like it's always going to be in the fitness world, the challenge is, how do we get people to actually show up to the workouts every single 2 weeks or whatever it is? And as I created the group, it's a WhatsApp group. It's a live boxing WhatsApp group that I created. I always require, hey, please confirm with me at least 48 hours, between 48 and 24 hours before the actual Saturday. So that way, if nobody commits, then I know I could, spend my Saturday morning doing something else and all that kind of stuff. So nobody committed this past Saturday until the actual morning of the workout, right? And even though I wasn't like, what happened was I had just finished a workout, and I went to one of my favorite, shout out to Pete's Palace, man, with the Polish omelet. So they're enjoying my Polish omelet with my fruit and all that. And then I get a message from one person, literally one person, saying, hey, I could make it. I want to do it. So because, again, I'm not too far from that, I made sure the park was somewhere that's proximatable from where it is I am located and all that kind of stuff. And it happened to be right near Pete's Palace and all that. So I'm in the middle of my omelet. I'm like, all right, look, I know I'm already worked out, already showered and all that. But hey, when the time comes for me to make an adjustment and say, hey, all right, look, if you're going to be willing to show up, I'm going to do it. Boom, got it done. We did the boxing lesson. It was a great session. I'm so happy that I actually did it, because of how well she did, how she was learning the moves, learning jab, cross, short, all these things that she was learning as we were going. And it brings me to the whole point, and I'm going to close you guys out soon, brings me to the whole point of today's discussion is what's the skill that you're creating right now that's going to last you for the rest of your life, that's going to make it so you can serve people regardless of what they do, how they do it, whatever it is. How can you serve your community? What skill can you provide? When you are able to establish that skill, it's something that's never going to go away. And it makes you more of a valuable employee, if being an employee is what you want to do, it makes you more of a valuable employee, makes you more hireable, makes you someone now that people appreciate, that the communities and the organizations, that the folks that are responsible for building these programs and needing people to carry out these programs, it makes it so they're eager to work with you. So again, a lot of this is really going to be based on your industry, based on what would be a great complement to your industry. See, me again, I'm education, I'm athletics, I'm fitness. So having the ability to teach people how to box and adding to that skill set, obviously that's a huge advantage, an actual huge thing to be able to do when it comes to that world. But even in the education, even on that point in the education world, being out here in South Florida, there's some ladies here who can speak Creole, right? Or can speak Spanish, and they get certain positions to deal with certain folks because they never know when that certain skill is going to be needed and all that kind of stuff. There's been plenty of times where I've had to call someone in, or I had to, bring in somebody else who can speak Spanish, and then they're able to communicate and all that kind of stuff. So as an owner, these are all things that need to be evaluated, all the things that need to be vetted, because they're not going to be simple things that just come up on a piece of paper. They're going to be day-to-day activities. And also on that point, I'll close you out with this. This is how you need to be training your young people. This is how you need to be training your students. You don't need to be training them with, okay, this is a set way of doing things, and you're automatically going to get this thing because it's just automatically going to happen. No, you need to be teaching. If you want to raise productive members of society, at least, all right, which I'm assuming is exactly what it is you're trying to do. You need to be training young people in terms of, how am I going to deal with life as it happens? How I'm going to deal with the inevitable changes that are going to happen in my life. How am I going to deal with the curveballs that are thrown? How am I going to deal with the situation where I didn't plan on this happening and I have to figure it out now. I have to figure it out now because I have a family, because I have obligations, because I need to be in a certain place. So if there's because this has happened to me quite a few times, but if there's a nail that goes into your tire and you got to be somewhere now, how can you handle that situation? How am I going to be able to take life in how am I going to react to life as it happens? So that's all I got for you guys today. All that being said, again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, it's makeyourmove.com. That's makeyaMove.com. Be sure. This is where we're at now. Be sure you are tapping in with me on the Patreon link, patreon.com/as144. We have something for everyone, regardless of where you are financially. All right. Preseason, regular season, postseason. However, you do need to make a financial commitment, so I know you're committed. All right, that is the difference the difference between what we're doing with this versus just posting stuff or giving you game and giving you facts on social media. This is now you need to be paying something, so I know your commitment level, and then you could be growing that and building something special from that. So patreon.com/as144, and also makeyourmove.com. That's makeyaMove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Check it out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.